All right, tool configuration and storage. Geez, I never thought we would discuss this on this channel, but it does turn out, now that I'm doing this more and more and more, and I'm the go-to guy in not only the neighborhood, but now the zip code pretty much, and I'm always working on cars in my free time and on the weekends especially, and I want to have some free time. I have definitely become more sensitive to the fact that I want efficiency with my time. And it turns out that having a really good logical setup is essential in maximizing your efficiency. So, and also, by the way, your ergonomics as well is really important. So you want efficiency, you want ergonomics. There's two main strategies that I'll use in my tool organization. The main one is organizing tools by the type of tools. Having all my screwdrivers in the same place, all my wrenches in the same place, all my sockets in the same place. Ideally, I would like a better setup than what I'm going to show you that I have, but again, given what I have, it's the best that I can do. The other thing that you want is to consider organizing tools by purpose. So for example, as you saw earlier in the video, I have all of my serpentine belt accessories and tools. I have also a brake drawer. Whenever I do a brake job, I can just open my brake drawer. Pretty much all my specialized tools other than the ratchet and socket are in that drawer alone, and I don't have to go hunting around for everything. Anything to do with brakes will be in the one single drawer. I have a drawer for when I am doing things like dismantling an engine and I'm going to be taking off hoses and clamps and clips and all the little stuff you do when dismantling an engine. All of that stuff is in one drawer. I don't have to go to the pliers drawer for some things, the screwdriver drawer for other things. Everything is in one location like that. So again, you want to organize your tool by the type of tool, but also you want to give consideration to the purpose. You also want to consider your ergonomics. You'll notice that a lot of my most common go-to stuff is going to be at around chest level. So I don't have to constantly be bending over a drawer, getting tools, looking for things. The dumbest thing you could probably do is put your socket set on the bottom drawer, for example. You want that up high so that where you're spending most of your time, you're keeping your back straight, you're reducing load on your body and things like that. So let's take a look over here. All right, the box on the right is my main setup. The box on my left is a bit of a secondary setup that I added a few years ago as I outgrew my original box here on the right. At one point, I thought that would never possibly ever happen 10 years ago, but it did. You see that I've also got this really new looking Craftsman box here. And this I just recently added, and this was an addition strictly for the purpose to allow me to get my organization the way I want for maximum efficiency. This isn't so much because of space limitations. This is more to allow for efficiency in organization, which I find to be very important. On the far end down here, this is my Diagnostics tool cart. This is specific for when I'm doing things using the oscilloscope or doing any kind of diagnostics on the computer and everything like that. So all of my electrical stuff and everything is consolidated into there. And let's go ahead and take a look here. Now again, this is not my overall ultimately preferred setup. This is just my preferred setup for what I have available to me. Now at some point in the future, what I'd love to do is get one of those big boxes, like the big Icon box, you know, or maybe one of those $40,000 Snap-on boxes or something. They have these 4-foot wide deep drawers that you can just store hundreds and hundreds of tools in one single drawer. Ideally, I would like that. I do not have that. But these are mostly my go-tos. This is a screwdriver drawer here. These organizers here, I'll put a link here. I like these organizers because they're modular. You can actually separate these out and add to them or subtract from them as much as you want. Also, there's magnets on the bottom so they stay put. This drawer particularly is for my flathead screwdrivers. Underneath it is my Phillips head screwdrivers. Obviously, ideally, I would like to have all my screwdrivers in one drawer, but I just don't have the drawer space and width for that. This is a pliers drawer right here. We covered a number of these specialty pliers in previous videos. And I've also got these organizers here. I will put a link to these organizers. You'll notice I've got these yellow organizers versus these red organizers. I kind of made the mistake of purchasing these red organizers. These are from Ernst Tools. And the difference is the red organizers are fixed. Every space position is fixed here. What I really like about these yellow ones is that you can adjust them. I've got a couple of unused spaces, so I can move these. I can make them as wide or narrow as I want to adapt for different wider tools like my vice grips here versus the skinnier pliers here that I don't need as much space. One tip that I'll do, if you notice, by the way, this is a little modification. I just put this little bar that I drilled in there because my drawer is a little bit too shallow for this little spring pliers that I use pretty much every day. And this little bar here that I inserted is just to keep the handle pressed down so the door will close. Again, one of the nice things I like that is particularly applicable to my yellow plier holder, I take up every slot. If I have any slots open, I just either remove them or I push them off to the side in this case. And this way I can quickly identify if I have any missing tools. If a slot is open, I need to recheck that car before I send it back to the owner because obviously I'm missing something there. Another trick I'll do along that lines in this particular sort of specialty wrench drawer here, if you look at the bottom of my wrench holders, I paint yellow lines like that. So I can just take a look at that wrench holder and at a glance I can see that I'm missing a wrench from the rack. There we go, now we're complete. Now another little trick I'll do for organization, of course, I don't want every time I open and close the drawer for everything to be shifting around. The way that I manage that is with these little buggers that I have a love-hate relationship with. Oh my God, these are insane. Okay, so these are little bitty magnets that are insanely strong. I cannot even describe to you. You've got to be really careful with these because if you pinch your finger between this magnet and another magnet or the surface you're working on, you can only remove this by sliding it and pulling it off. If you get your finger pinched between there, it'll just take a piece of your skin out and it is relentless. These are so incredibly strong. However, they come in super useful because what I do is I strategically place these underneath the matting here so that it's so strong, it slightly pulls through the plastic to pull on the wrenches in there. So I can easily remove my wrenches without any magnetic resistance, but it keeps the holders in place overall. As a matter of fact, I have them over here. This is my solution for my half moon wrenches. If any of you guys want to become millionaires, design a rack for these half moon wrenches because there are no storage solutions commercially available. But if you look real closely, I've just got one of these magnets just lined up right there that holds my wrenches firmly into place so that they don't shake around. You got to be real careful with these because if you just place that in there and you get that little bit of your thumb pad pinched between them, it's going to look like a little dog bit you. All right, this is my primary socket drawer. This is also strategically placed because it's as high up as I can possibly get it, but also it's the only drawer that has the depth that I needed for these sockets as well, for these taller sockets. Now, this is not an optimal setup. If I really had my optimal setup, I would have the big giant toolbox with the huge 4-foot wide drawer that I would have sockets, extensions, and ratchets in the same drawer so I can open the drawer and quickly grab my socket, grab my ratchet, grab my extension, all in one swipe of the drawer and maximize my efficiency. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability to do that. I have a ratchet drawer up here. The ratchets are organized with magnets here. This is just a Craftsman magnet bar that I bought at Lowe's, of all places, Lowe's Hardware. So I just organized by magnet with that. This magnet here was a gift from my friends at O'Reilly's. I don't know if you can buy this or not, but this allows me to keep my 1/4" ratchets here. As you see, I've got a lot of room for growth because I used to have my ratchet drawer and my extension drawer combined. Again, you can see the use of these little magnets that I showed you earlier, and that I've secretly got one of those little magnets underneath this tray here where I've got my little 1/2" to 3/8 converters there. My swivels here, there's actually a magnet under there. You can see that keeps these, they're easy to pick up, but the tray doesn't move around. Everything stays in place. This, I don't even know where I got the plastic storage thing, but you can use a silverware organizer. That works really well for this. But again, this is not a really great optimal setup because I have to open a drawer to get my ratchet, then open a drawer to get my extension or swivel or converter, and then I have to open up my bottom drawer, which has my sockets in it. So it's a 3-step process. Typically when I'm working on a car, I'll leave this open. Now the other thing you'll notice particular about my organization here versus what a lot of professionals do that use pegboards for their socket organization is I've intentionally made mine totally modular here. This is another big magnet bar here, just simply so my primary metric socket set stands up higher so they're easier to access. And the idea with having things in this more modular, that I can pick up sockets and just take a whole row of sockets like this is, remember, I'm a do-it-yourselfer. The car I work on is not going to be on a full-size lift. I am most likely going to be crawling underneath that car. Once I crawl under the car, I don't want to get back up again because I got the wrong size socket or whatever. So by bringing the whole rack of sockets with me, by bringing all of my deep wells with me at one time, having it more modular like that, it prevents me having to get up, get other tools, crawl back under the car. Oh, this isn't what I wanted, get up. I can just grab a few of these racks that I know I'll need. Maybe I need a rack for oxygen sensors. I'm going to remove oxygen sensor from the vehicle. All my oxygen sensor sockets like that. I can take them all with me, and ergonometrically, that is the most sensible thing. Now, these are all my go-to sockets. Again, ideally, I would want all my sockets in one single drawer. Can't do it. So I have this drawer for my more specialty stuff here. So these are a lot of my triple squares, a lot of my long hex socket things here. These are usually useful if I'm removing the covers for a steering column, if I'm doing any kind of an airbag work, or if I'm doing a clock spring or something. That's particularly what these are useful for. Shallow socket set, a lot of my European type drivers are in here too, things for BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, stuff like that. They all tend to use these kind of weird type things like this. And again, that's more modular like that, so I can take that whole set with me and I'm not likely to have to get up again and access this drawer. Okay, again, another piece of advice here, and this is an example of it. This is my brake drawer. So this is all the stuff for brakes, anything I need for brakes. I even have a little brake measurement tool here. I've started using this because I like to take a picture to show the brake measurement against the brake pad material to prove to a customer, yeah, I'm not lying, you really do need brakes, that kind of thing. Tread wear gauge right here. You see I've kind of naturally got a segmentation here with my blow mold boxes, which I hate. I hate blow mold boxes because they take up so much room. We've also got some large axle sockets back here that just seem to fit. But most of my brake go-to stuff is just right here with the hangers, spreaders, hub cleaners, things like that. But the point with this that I want to make is that while it's really nice that I've got everything all in this one drawer, it is not a good idea if you're looking for tool cabinets and whatever to get something that has a lot of deep drawers. Deep drawers are not your friend with efficiency and ergonomics. Deep drawers require you to dig out stuff, to try to find things that are buried at the bottom, things that you don't even remember you had, like this horrid invention for those rear brakes that spin in. This is the worst thing ever made. But a lot of my spring material for brake springs, for shoes, for those cars that don't have the disc brakes, a lot of that stuff is buried in the bottom here, harder to access. This deep drawer thing is actually really not optimal. I would actually rather have 3 more shallow drawers than one really, really, really deep drawer that just becomes a bottomless pit. So that's something to keep in mind when you're shopping around. You definitely want a few deep drawers, but a really deep drawer like this one where I keep a lot of my camshaft tools, fuel disconnects. This is kind of my cylinder head drawer pretty much. And having a really deep drawer is just really not optimal for your efficiency, but they can be handy. You want a few of them, but you really want more smaller, shallower drawers than one really, really huge drawer. All right, again, organizing by tool type, but also by purpose and function. Here's a drawer that actually does both. This is my, I'm not asking politely drawer. So we've got my hammers here, but also I've got the things that I will use the hammer on, most likely as well. So we've got some functionality, like this pickle fork, for example, or I showed you these earlier that we would bang on with the hammers, so it makes sense to have them here. This is my collection of those little tie rod end fittings that you can screw on and smack them with the hammer without mushrooming. So again, combining purpose and function in this drawer, this is a pretty good setup. Here's a solution I have for my breaker bars and longer ratchets like this, these little hooks here that I just got off of Amazon. Also, I've got this magnet bar in the bottom to keep things secured and keep them from swaying around and swinging around if I'm moving this tool chest. Over here in my Diagnostics cart, I did do a little homemade thing. We've got the little table on the side here, and I drilled in this little adjustable, movable computer stand here. This is awesome for putting my computer on, my scan tool. If I'm doing oscilloscope stuff, it's really nice. I can lift this up as high as I want, have my mouse under here, so I'm saving space. Okay, you may ask about this. Yes, of course, this was a top chest. There was a lid on here. I didn't, first of all, I don't like the lid anyway. I hate lids. I hate lids on the tool chest because they're always open anyway as far as I'm concerned. And on this one, I didn't have the room to open up all the way because my cabinets come right here, so I just cut this off. But it's actually handy having this plain open space here at about chest level, not only as a workbench space, but also for putting car parts and things like that. But also typically what I'll do is I'll get a lot of the tools I need, especially sockets and things for the job, and I'll just put them up here so that I've got my ratchets, extension sockets, everything I know I need, all in one easy to access place up there. One of the most important things about being efficient is you can fill so much up with toolboxes and tools and all these parts bins like I've got over here that go along the whole wall, and you don't leave yourself any table space. You've got to have some table space in order to be efficient. So this is really my main table space other than my workbench. And even little design things can be so important. These are all my extra bolts and nuts and washers and little parts, and there's nails and screws and little battery terminals and hose clamps and all that. But I've intentionally got this 6-inch space all along here because you want to be able to put stuff down on here while you're working, so you're not just constantly holding it, maybe dropping it on the floor. It's nice to be able to have a little space there that I can put this tray down, dump out my stuff, and be able to do everything right here without having to take it to the workbench. Again, efficiency. And then just pour everything back. So everything I've done is intentionally designed in space, not only for maximum efficiency, but just for the way that I particularly work and the things that I most do. So if you've noticed, I've designed things where I'm not bending my back over as much for more of my accessible stuff, or things where if I'm looking for a particular nut and bolt, I can work at chest level, keep my back straight. So that means that the lower, in general, that we go in the tool cart, the less stuff that I will have. Now, typically these will also be deeper drawers, so you may be forced to put stuff in there. But this is my bottom drawer where I have a lot of my pullers and things for working on shocks and harmonic balancer puller stuff, exhaust pullers. This is my puller drawer. I typically don't access this quite as much. I just don't do a lot of heavy duty stuff anymore. I really try to stick with stuff that's easy on my body now that I'm old. I really don't deal with a lot of this manual labor type stuff so much because I like to focus on the diagnostics and things. So stuff like this I try to put on the lower drawers because I'm not going to access it as often. So I don't want my frequently accessed stuff in the lower drawers. Here's a drawer I don't even use anymore. I'm probably going to just box this stuff up and discard it. This is stuff for replacing windshields. I don't replace windshields anymore. It's just too laborious, to be honest. A lot of this is my engine rebuilding stuff, which is what I did when I first started working on cars like 10 years ago. I don't rebuild engines anymore. It's just not time effective for me to rebuild an engine anymore. And quite honestly, I don't even replace used engines anymore as of a few years ago. So stuff that you don't use very much, don't put that in your premium space. This is one of my favorite drawers. It's a little bit lower than where I'd like it to be because I use this all the time. But this is pretty much the drawer I go to when I got to start taking apart stuff in an engine. Just leave this drawer open and you're good to go. So a lot of these tools you've seen before, a lot of hose clamp removers, a lot of hose removers. Just covered these in this video, picks for the radiator hoses. All the stuff I need when I'm doing, say, an intake manifold, for example, pretty much falls into this drawer. All right, this is my least favorite drawer. First of all, it's probably one of the least organized ones, as you see. But this is my bad day drawer. I had to access this on that video a couple videos ago with that guy's brake that caught on fire, you remember? So this is all my reverse drill bits, my extracting tools, strip nut extractors, things like that. Here's a tool we didn't cover. This is a stud extractor. You just put this over the stud, tighten it down. You can use a wrench to really tighten down on the stud. And then use a wrench here to just back the whole thing out and extract your stud. This is actually an amazing tool. Should have covered that earlier. All right, pry bars, we covered some of these. These are trim removal tools. These are actually those plier racks that I showed earlier. However, they're too tall for this particular drawer, so I just use a Dremel tool to trim them down. You always got to be doing some kind of creative stuff for your organization. All right, and everybody's got a junk drawer. Again, optimally, I would not like this premium level of the drawer at about hip level for my junk drawer, but again, I just don't have a choice given the setup that I have. But this is where I've got a lot of my extra socket holders, extra wires for my multimeter, extra storage devices. These are the modular screwdriver storage devices, some extra ones there. A lot of sockets. Many of these sockets are ones that I've lost. I bought new ones, but then I found them again. So like 2/3 of these are 10 millimeters. Got extra dry erase board markers, things like that in there. I would love to have this relocated to the bottom somewhere because I just don't access this drawer very much at all. And it's almost at hip level. That's primary real estate that you really want to use for stuff that you more frequently use. I would love to have my hammer drawer there, but the drawer is just too shallow. All right, and the final advice I have for your tool organization, not everything's gonna fit in your toolboxes and all that. So I try to make as much shelf space as I possibly can in the garage. As a general organization strategy, keep stuff off the floor. The more you keep stuff off the floor, the more room that it creates, the more space you have, the safer it is, by the way, as well, and the more organized that you will have things. Keep stuff off the floor. Make shelves. So on the top of my cabinets here, I hate blow molded cases, but in this case, I love them because what I'll typically do is I'll combine things in my own blow molded cases, not the ones the stuff came in, but I'll just combine things like this. Hey, here's a perfect open table space. All right, so this is one of my biggest organizational tricks that I use all the time. I keep all these blow mold cases that I hate that things come in, and wherever possible, I'll consolidate things to a single purpose within that case. So this is actually several kits from different manufacturers. Many of you guys are familiar with the U-Activate. Awesome, awesome tool. But these are many things, even some homemade stuff. Anytime I'm doing electrical and I decide I'm going to do something with my oscilloscope through a relay port, or I'm testing controller low sides with relays and everything like that, all I need to do is just bring out this kit. Everything that I need will be in this one kit. Similarly, this is my optics kit. So this is my bore scope here. This is my infrared camera. We've got a video of this. Holy cow, I use this little booger all the time. This little infrared camera that works with your iPhone. I use this all the time. This is one of the greatest things I've ever got. This was, we got a review on this. This particular one was sent to me by the company, so I don't want to cover it now, so I don't have to make this a promotional video. One of the best gifts I got from Vicky, my girlfriend, this is a bore scope that connects to your iPhone. I use this all the time. So basically anything camera related goes into this blow mold case that, I don't know, it says Centec on here. I don't know what originally this was. It might have been probably actually for this Harbor Freight bore scope that I never use anymore.